Welcome to the Toastmasters Experience. My name is Evelyn. Get inspired by today's Toastmasters Insights. Enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of the Toastmasters Experience. Today we're shining a spotlight on one of the most influential roles in any Toastmasters club, the Vice President Education, often known simply as the VPE. While every executive role is important, the VPE is the person who helps shape the educational journey of every member. From planning the meeting agenda to tracking member progress to encouraging new speakers to step onto the stage for the very first time, the VPE truly sets the tone for the entire meeting. Joining me today is Charmaine Tully, the Vice President Education from my home club, Blue Mountains Toastmasters, which meets in Katoomba, New South Wales, Australia, at the Carrington Hotel on the second and fourth Monday of the month. Now, Charmaine brings enthusiasm, organization, and a genuine passion for helping members grow. In today's conversation, we'll explore what the VP role really involves, why it's such an important leadership position, and how great VPEs help create meetings that are engaging, supportive, and inspiring. Charmaine, welcome to the Toastmasters Experience.
Oh, thank you, Evelyn. It's such a delight and a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to have you here. Now we're going to start at the beginning. What first motivated you to take on the role of Vice President of Education?
I'm an organiser, and when I first joined Blue Mountains Toastmasters, which, might I say, took me about 18 months to summon up the courage to actually join, I eventually joined, and then there was some elections happening soon, and I thought, I am a great organiser, and I like to be really involved. I also like to have a say in things. So I thought, what a great opportunity, firstly, to be on the executive of the Blue Mountains Toastmasters Club, but secondly, to take on the Vice President Education, which I believe is a pivotal role in the success of a club. I put my hand up and I was voted in.
For someone new to Toastmasters, how would you describe the VPE role?
The VPE role is like a key that you put in an old-fashioned clock and wind it up in order for the clock to operate. The VPE is over everything. They are tracking where a member is in their Pathways program, and the Pathways program is the educational program that our members follow. It's important to be encouraging people to stay on top of their Pathways program, because sometimes with busy lives, that can be sometimes a little challenging and sometimes forgotten. The VPE role essentially is a role of encouragement. It's the putting together of the agenda, which is where the magic begins to happen. If I'm putting an agenda together, and I do it quite intuitively, I certainly don't do it in the normal way, I do plot what people have completed, because in our pathways now we have something called enhancements, which means that people do need to fulfil other roles as well as their speaking roles. And I keep a little bit of an eye on that. But sometimes I just allow intuition to come in to play. If I am thinking about the table topics person, for instance, I'll look at the list of people that we have in our club and I think, well, that person hasn't completed that position for a long time. I'll put their name against that role. Positions like the toast can set the tone for the meeting. So carefully choosing who I put against each of the assignments, each of the roles, and then that brings the magic to the meeting. And what happens at Blue Mountains Toastmasters is that we have, I think we're sitting on about 17 members at the moment. But we have 17 keen and motivated members. And a lot of the members say to me, look, just give me something. Some do say, this is what I want as well. So it's about managing that as well. But our members come to the meeting and they're involved. So the agenda is the cornerstone, absolutely. Choosing who completes the role is really important. But it's the passion and the energy that is brought to the meeting by individuals that is certainly contributes to a successful meeting.
Yeah. So you said the word intuitively. So on the night of the meeting, you have your agenda. Would you look who's actually at the meeting and then decide, oh, they don't have a role, I'll fit them in here? Or how would that work?
Well, I certainly do that. And in fact, I usually do that before the meeting.
Okay.
Because I'm training people
Yeah.
to let me know if they're going to be an apology. Sometimes that doesn't always work. But if someone isn't there and I know that there is a gap, I'll speak with the Toastmaster on the evening and indicate that this is the person that would be best suited to fill in for that role in the event that someone is absent.
So with Toastmasters agendas, most clubs have traditional agendas, where there's table topics and there's speeches, evaluations. But I've noticed on the Blue Mountains agenda, there's actually quite different and interesting roles. Can you sort of just expound on those interesting roles and how you came about into adding them into the agenda?
One of the first things that I started to do after I joined Toastmasters was visit other clubs. I'm also a member of a second club as well. And I have to say, I like to steal some ideas from other places. I had been attending our Toastmasters Club for about a month, and I remember there was one particular meeting that I attended, and all I wanted to do was go to sleep because it was a very rigid agenda that night. I wasn't given any role. I wasn't particularly involved in the meeting. And I came home and I thought, surely it could be a little bit more interesting than this. Which meant that when I became the VPE, I decided to add in a few other small roles because it gives people an opportunity to participate. One of the little roles that we now have is tips and tricks. And my reason for adding that in initially was that we have a lot of wisdom amongst our members. We have quite a few members who have been in Toastmasters for many years. And I thought, how wonderful would it be for them to have an opportunity to share, especially with our newer members, their little tips and tricks. What that's grown into now is that most of the senior members have given us their tips and tricks. So now I've been asking some of the newer members because sometimes it's really nice to have something different. I believe new blood coming in brings with it some new ideas. Now, Evelyn, you were the one actually who suggested the aha moments. And I thought, wow, what a wonderful idea. And that gives everyone the opportunity at the end of the meeting to speak. And it's an opportunity for reflection of the meeting. Sometimes it's one word, although I find that in our Toastmasters Club, that's a little tricky because everyone likes to speak. Mm-hmm. So they do give us more than one word, which is great, which is wonderful. But it does give everyone just an opportunity to finish off the meeting. It's lovely. Poetry moments. Well, the reason that I introduced poetry moments is because I like poetry. And I also believe that poetry and delivering a beautiful poem is a very different skill set to giving a speech. It's a very different way of delivering. And people at first were a little resistant to that. And that's also what happens when you're a VPE, putting something new in. People like routine. And there were a few people that were a little resistant to that. But what I then did is that I chose people who were happy to give a poem. And what now is the case is that most people want to do a poem.
Yeah. And another addition was the acknowledgement.
The acknowledgement.
And welcome to country, yeah.
Yes, really important, because I've just retired from my previous job, which was as a teacher. And within education, certainly in New South Wales, acknowledgement of country is really important. And coming to Toastmasters, it wasn't there. And that is something that I introduced to Blue Mountains, and now the clubs further down the mountain, I've attended as a special guest to give an educational on acknowledgement of country, and those clubs have embraced that as well. So they now have that on their agenda as well.
Can you just explain, because this podcast is heard all over the world and someone might not know exactly what that is. So can you explain what acknowledgement, welcome to country is here in Australia and how important it is?
Prior to the colonisation of Australia, the Aboriginal people were the custodians of this country. And as part of their protocol, when Aboriginal people were travelling through different areas in Australia, they would approach the elders of that particular part of the country for permission to come on to the country. And the permission was an opportunity to acknowledge that they were on someone else's country, but also seeking an opportunity for safe passage through that area. It was a number of years ago now, one of our politicians introduced something called Acknowledgement of Country into Parliament, and it was an opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this country. And we certainly didn't have a very, very good introduction of European people to the Indigenous people that lived in this country. And it came out of the stolen generation. We had stolen generations that were, it was another conversation for another time. But it is an acknowledgement that for 60,000 years plus, this country was taken care of by the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Giving an acknowledgement of country at the beginning of a meeting is taking a moment to say, we're here on this country.
Yep.
And we pay our respects to the traditional custodians of this country and thank them for taking care of this beautiful country and thank them for passing down their stories and sharing their culture.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so grateful that you have done that for our club, because it's something we didn't think about. So that is one thing about having new blood. And with the aha moments, because I know I introduced that because that was an idea I got from my other club, Stage Time, which meets in Sydney. And I like that as well because it highlights what was an aha moment during the meeting, and it gives everybody an opportunity to really acknowledge someone that it's surprised them, like, wow, I can't believe, Joe did such an amazing speech. He's really changed my life, So it is hard with the one word. I do agree with that. So maybe 2 sentences so that the meeting can come to an end. But I think it's such a positive way to end the meeting, and acknowledgement of country is a positive way to start the meeting. So that's what we do at Blue Mountains.
Also, the VPE role is not just about the agenda, and it's not just about the local meetings. It's also about being abreast of all of the changes that are happening. Our world is changing at a rapid rate, and so is Toastmasters. Toastmasters are introducing new procedures and new things almost on a daily basis, it feels like. but also keeping abreast of when the area competitions are, the district competitions, the division competitions, and negotiating and speaking with the area directors and the division directors and the district directors. It's not just about the agenda.
How do you encourage members who may feel nervous about giving their first speeches or performing their first role?
Our club have adopted a phrase which is feel the fear and do it anyway. And in fact, that is something that I have done for a long time in my life, where everyone gets nervous. Doesn't matter what you're doing, anything that is new for the first time brings a certain level of anxiety. And I have always been of the opinion, with new members in particular, is to just gently say to them, this is really scary, I know, but it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to give it a go, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes new members take a little bit of time to get there, but at the end of the day with some members, I have just said, right, you're doing your speech next time we meet, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. And people certainly in some cases like that, because sometimes I think and Toastmasters, can I say, is scary in many ways, because you are having to stand up and speak to a group of people. And as adults, one of our greatest fears is speaking in front of our peers.
Yeah.
And so I just gently guide them. We have a brand new member at the moment who has put his speech off a few times, and I gave him in our last meeting the job of timer, because I thought that would help to encourage him and build his confidence a little bit. Mm-hmm. And he will now do his icebreaker, his first speech, at the next meeting that we attend.
Yeah, that's exciting. And it's those baby steps. It's those small baby steps. And that's what you need to be made aware of. So in saying that, and because you were a teacher, is there anything practical? Do you use a spreadsheet or anything that says, okay, we know that, whichever member has done this for a while needs to do something else? Do you have any sort of systems in place that you use?
I do have some systems in place, although can I say I'm a little bit of a dinosaur, so I'm not necessarily in the digital age at the moment. I do have a spreadsheet and I do plot what roles people have had over, and I do that over 6 months, although to be really honest with you, at the moment, I've tossed that out.
Okay.
I've gone back to my intuition.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Whatever works. What challenges have come about with being a VPE, and how do you handle them?
I think that one of the big challenges is the time commitment. To put an agenda together probably would be about 30 minutes, and that may not sound like a lot. But when I was working full-time, 30 minutes was a huge ask. And now that I'm retired, it's still a big ask because my life seems to be as full as it was when I was working. So the time commitment is a big thing. Also, the other challenges would include just keeping my head in the game in terms of making sure that all members have an equal opportunity to participate and to be taking notice of the members that haven't given a speech for a while. And what I have certainly done and continue to do is that if I've noticed that, I'll say to the person, look, you haven't given a speech for a while. What about if we put you down for a month's time? And people are usually quite happy to do that. The other challenges as well is when you have a member who's not attending regularly. and to encourage them, find a way to encourage them to attend. And the thing that I find really helpful is just to notice when they're there. We have a couple of members who, have had certain challenges and haven't been attending regularly. And when they begin to attend regularly, I just make it my business to say to them, "Oh, it's so fantastic to see you here.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. It's nice to see you here regularly at many of our meetings."
Yeah.
And what that tends to do, and I think for we as adults, is that it's often the case where we'll do something and no one notices.
Yeah.
Because we all like to be praised.
Yeah,
We all
yeah.
like to be noticed. And that is one of the challenges of being a VPE that's really important, to keep my mind across everybody.
Yeah. So with new members who are joining now, have you seen sort of a pattern or a change in what people want from public speaking?
Something that I've noticed, and can I just also say that I'm still relatively a newbie. I have only been a member of Toastmasters for 2 years, in fact. And what I have noticed about the new members that we're having at Blue Mountains is that people are coming in with skills. They're coming in to improve their communication in their job, for instance. Now, if you take me for example, I was a teacher for 47 years, and certainly in the last 35 years, I practiced my communication skills with lots and lots of students and parents and community groups. I have come in with a certain level of experience, but why did I join Blue Mountains Toastmasters? It was to learn how to write a speech, in actual fact. So I had come in with a certain level of communication already, and that's what I'm noticing about the new members that we're getting in now, is because communication, let's face it, communication is front and centre for many, many areas of employment now. And people are coming to our club to hone their skills as opposed to develop their skills.
I do like that we have gotten so many new, interesting people in who are so experienced. And I think that's why the tips and tricks that you've added into the agenda has really been quite eye-opening, some of the things that I've learned from the newer members. And I think they've probably taken those tips and tricks like from their job. So somebody said something the other day, I forgot where I heard it, but like we joined Toastmasters, of course, to deliver good speeches, but we also joined Toastmasters because we want to do well on the outside world, So that's why we actually join. We don't just join so that we can win competitions, though I know some people do join just so they can win a Toastmasters competition. But we want to do well in life. So that's one of the main reasons we do join Toastmasters.
And Evelyn, also, joining Toastmasters is just not about learning how to deliver a speech or complete a role. It's when you join Toastmasters, you're joining a family.
Yeah.
And I have seen this firsthand in going to other clubs and going to the various competitions that I've attended. It is like a family. If you are a Toastmaster, you can visit any club in the world and you are welcomed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like coming home.
That's true. That's true. And because we all want the same thing, we want to support people, we want to communicate well. You're absolutely right. I've been fortunate. I've been able to visit clubs all over the world. I've been so lucky, and it does feel that way. It doesn't matter where you go. It does feel that way. Can you share a moment as VPE when you saw a member truly grow or gain confidence?
I'm mentoring one of our members at the moment, and she has a job where she has to give a number of presentations. what I've noticed about her is from her first speech, where she was incredibly nervous, to now she's becoming, she has much more clarity in her speaking and her speeches. And she's now starting to structure her speeches so that they're a little clearer and more concise and giving of information and communicating that to the audience. She has a lot more awareness of the audience, for instance. And also the other thing that I've noticed about her in particular is she's really welcoming the feedback. And feedback at Toastmasters is really important. It's where we encourage people to think about adding this in or that in, or standing in a particular way, or not using those restless feet on the stage, which is something, one of my big bugbears is restless feet. So she's about to give another speech, which I'm really looking forward to, and that will happen within the next few meetings. And her feedback to me has been that the club has certainly helped her to improve her confidence in making speeches, but also her confidence in fulfilling the other roles, because Toastmasters is not just about speaking.
Yeah.
It's also about participating in different roles within the meeting. So, for instance, you might need to be a timer. As this, I have to say, if I have to confess, this is a role I don't give to myself very often because it's nerve-wracking being the timer. But it does give everyone the opportunity to do other roles and to speak in about their roles and to deliver their little mini reports. Yeah. And that in itself is also a challenge. Those skills are something to hone and improve on.
So what makes Blue Mountains Toastmasters such a special club?
From the moment you walk through the door, you're welcomed. That is really important. We also mentor each other. We support each other. Our agenda is solid, although what we are developing at the moment is a little bit of both formal agenda, formal meeting, but also there's lots of laughter, and it's just a fun, supportive place to be.
And there's a community there, there's connection, and I love that. And we also, like our last few meetings have been quite vulnerable, and people have gone really deep, but I love that because it's really connected us. So in a world where now we're just communicating via text, everything is just quick, I think we need that vulnerability even more. So to be able to open up, talk about how we're feeling and what we're going through in a constructed speech. And sometimes those table topics, especially that we have at Blue Mountains, are quite challenging, but they're good challenging because they really do open people up. So I think there is a connection that we have, a special connection that we have at the Blue Mountains Toastmasters. So for those of you who are listening who live in this Blue Mountains area, don't be afraid. It's actually a very welcoming club. So Charmaine, if someone is listening today and thinking about joining Toastmasters or stepping into the leadership role like VPE, what would you say to them?
I would say don't hesitate. Don't overthink it. Come along, join, or come along as a visitor for a few meetings. Again, I would say in life, feel the fear and do it anyway. Really important.
Yeah.
Just take that step. Stop. And don't think about it. Just do it. Come along. Be part of a wonderful group of people. And the other thing that I was just thinking about listening to you speak, Evelyn, in this day and age, our communication is via text, email, written. And my observation is that in our society is we are losing the skill of verbal communication. And Toastmasters is not just about standing up and giving a speech. Toastmasters is about developing those verbal communications that you could use in everyday life. Might just be with your child, communicating to them that they need to complete a task. It could be with your spouse. It could be with your friends. It could be with your work colleagues. But verbal communication is highly, highly important, and Toastmasters can assist you with that.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Charmaine. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you, Evelyn. It's been a delight to be here.
Thank you so much for your company. Please tune in next time to the Toastmasters Experience.